I'm a firm believer that it's all about the people. I've always seen it this way. If a team's is doing really well, that's when you hit the gas. And I push harder. The thing I'm most proud of personally was the year of the NHL lockout. We were able to retain full staff. The numbers tell a story, but I can tell you how we got there, or how it
Yeah.
gets there, and the trajectory. And I think sometimes if you don't have that pause, it's real easy to just keep going without making dramatic changes. If something's all over the media and you're hearing like, oh, it's invested in this and because everybody's doing it, you're too late.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to season 4 of the Path to the Pros podcast. We've got our 5th guest of the season that I'm really excited to introduce. Today's guest is an ex-college athlete turned sports business investor and executive, Shawn Tilger. Shawn, thanks for joining the podcast today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Samir.
So, look, question I always like to get these things started off with. You and I have spoken about it before. I think your initial entry into the world of sports business is really interesting and quite unique. But talk to us a little bit about that. Let's maybe start there with your pathway into the industry and how you found your way into this incredible industry.
100%. Well, I went to Lafayette College. I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to play football there. Had all intentions of having a 4-year career and then going on and doing something. I was thinking maybe pre-law or things along those lines. Unfortunately, I got hurt going into my senior year and knew really quickly that I wasn't going to be able to play that season. Had the opportunity to go on and be a student assistant coach. And my coach said, my head coach said, have you ever thought about coaching? And I said, you know what? Sure. So I tried to turn negative into a positive. And I used that to get a graduate degree. And I was able to go on and get a graduate assistantship at Springfield College in Springfield, Massachusetts. And when I was there, thinking I was in the coaching route, had to find something to do a master's in, and it was sports management. Then all intentions of getting a coaching job was doing the whole networking and talking to different folks, but had to do an internship to finish my degree. And I did it with the Philadelphia 76ers and never left. And kind of really found a niche, really enjoyed it. And it was funny, my first day as an intern with the 76ers was the same day that Pat Croce and Comcast had got involved with the team. So
Wow.
I show up, I get my tie on, I'm all ready. And it was me. Handed me a can of paint, and I painted Pat Croce's name on the curve out front and full suit. So I learned really quickly that you got to learn how to lick the envelope before you can write the proposal.
Love it. And that, I mean, that's some setback though, right? I mean, I know a lot of people that go through that journey, and it's almost the oldest quote that you hear from people that didn't quite make it, right? It's I got injured in school and didn't make it, but the reality is that it does happen, and it happens often. How did that impact? Because I guess up until that point, you said you didn't really think about the sports business side. I'm not sure whether you even had a plan B, or whether you were thinking, what if this doesn't make it? If I know you the way I think I know you, Shawn, you probably strike me as the type of person that thinks I'm making it and I'm going to make it happen. And you probably don't think too much about a plan B. But talk to us about how that setback kind of impacted you at the time, and maybe what helped you get through that moment.
That's a great question. And looking back on it, it was a blessing and the best thing that happened to me, because it set me up for the next 40 years, whereas I wasn't going to play pro football. So realizing the importance of adaptability and resilience really carries not only through my professional life, but my parenting, my coaching younger people, teaching them how to deal with setbacks and just keep going forward.
do you think that the main lessons maybe that you got from that moment of, you know, adapting and pivoting and really, you know, changing your career, that moment there really kind of helped you, and that experience that you went through has helped you become the, you know, the person in the executive that you are today? Maybe just talk to us a little about the how you think that experience has kind of, you know, shaped your perspective of the industry from a business standpoint, to where you're sat right now as, you know, being the president of a successful sports entertainment business.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's really everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face, right? That's what Mike Tyson said. So
Yeah.
you have strategies for the businesses, and things change, things go wrong. You can't dwell on it, and you have to be adaptable, flexible, and able to pivot. And you got to make sure that the, you encourage people to take those risks and know that it's part of the process that things are going to go wrong. But as long as you learn from them and you move on, it makes you stronger in the end.
Yeah, no doubt. And you talking about strength, you joined I guess the Philadelphia, you know, cohort, if you like, in what, 98, and you left in
Yep,
2019. I mean, dude, that's some run, that is.
it's a long run. Yeah.
You don't see
I,
that too
I
often
was
these days.
fortunate. Well, no, I was fortunate. I got to work with some great leaders with Ed Snyder and Peter Luco, and um, I learned a ton from those guys. And the thing that made that run most exciting to me is I got to experience a lot of different. I wasn't doing one thing. I started on the building side in the marketing, and then I went over. Then I oversaw all the business side for the facility in terms of all the revenue and the PR and the sales and ticket office and all that stuff. And then I got to go onto the team side, uh, and oversee the Flyers and
Yeah,
all their day-to-day business operations and pretty much everything off the ice. Uh, so, and we got to start a facility management company while I was there. At the time, it was called Global Spectrum, which then became Spectre, which now is part of Oakview.
yeah.
Um, it, so it's the run. It sounds like it's a long time, but it was an exciting time because I got to keep doing and learning and doing different things.
Yeah. And you worked, as you said, right? You worked across so many different areas. We're talking marketing, sales, communications, eventually becoming the chief operating officer for the Flyers. Um, at what point did you start to see, I guess, the kind of parallels between, you know, what makes a great coach in, you know, where you'd initially started your journey in the world of sports, into what makes a great executive? Because, you know, doing what I do in the world of search, leadership is one of the, you know, hardest things that people can pivot into. From, you know, you can be the greatest salesperson, the greatest marketer in the world, but managing other people is a very different ball game. And just because you're good at what you do, it doesn't mean that the team will be great at what they do. So how did you kind of find that, you know, pivot, and maybe what perspective can you share, from someone who has your background versus, you know, those who may have taken the more traditional route into the industry?
Well, I'll start by saying I'm a firm believer that it's all about the people, and the most important thing you do as an executive is talent evaluation and recruitment and investing in those people and growing them. It's because you're only going to be able to do your job and do different things if you have some people that you can entrust, and it's not like you're sitting there trying to hold them accountable.
Yeah,
They know what they're supposed to do. They feel ownership in what they're supposed to do, and you're there more to help them solve problems that where they need you than to watch over them or I set the vision and strategy. But if you broke my day up, I'd say it's strategy and execution, people management, and networking, and that's it. If
yeah.
that, and then I'm doing my job.
How do you tie in the people strategy and execution part together so that everyone's on the same page, so that everyone's working towards the same business objectives? Because I hear a lot in the industry, hire good people and get out of their way. I've heard that 4, 5, 6 different times, maybe in the last 30 days. And there is a lot of truth in that. I do agree with the idea and the philosophy of hire good folks and, let them do what they're good at. But at the same time, as business executives, you're trying to drive specific initiatives, goals, objectives that you kind of need that team working towards, the same game plan that you are. So how do you kind of blend those two things together without either one of them having to take a bit of a hit?
Yeah, I think I look at it a little differently because it's making sure my job is to simplify the complex. And if when we build things, we build them together. That way the team is part of the process. Like we build a budget. It's not me throwing a budget down saying here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They take first crack at building each of their own silos. Then we talk about how it impacts each other's silos. They take ownership of it because they help build it, and then we go from there on the execution. And I like uh, compensation models where people are incentivized to the bottom line holistically, because that way not only are they worried about their own lanes, but they're paying attention to the impact it has on other pieces of the business.
So I guess clear
So instead of
comms from the outset, right?
Yeah.
It's
Did I answer your
interesting
question?
because yeah, it does. It does. It's interesting because the part I find really interesting there is the having them be a part of the kind of the build out of what the overall objectives are, having them feel that they're involved and they're a part of that decision making process, and they're not just being given something to do or given an objective to hit or a target to achieve. It's how are we going to go out and grow this business, grow this revenue, or market this product, or whatever it may be, and them being a part of that process, to your point, gives them that level of accountability. But it's
And
interesting because not
ownership, and more importantly, I
yeah.
think people are more driven by delivering something they create than anything else.
Yeah. What if your next hire could shift your entire season? What if you never had to settle for second best ever again? In the world of sports and entertainment, pace is everything. You don't have to sift through weak resumes or wait months to fill senior roles. That's where your partnership with a global talent partner comes in. As a Financial Times fastest growing company 3 years running, when you partner with Forsyth Barnes, you'll tap into a global talent network built specifically for the fast-paced world of sports and entertainment. Having placed talent for some of the biggest leagues, venues and brands in the industry, you can connect with world-class candidates fast and onboard the top talent that you need to succeed. 98% of roles filled. 92% of candidates staying in post over 2 years. Delivery guaranteed. Forsyth Barnes, your global talent partner, disrupting the recruitment industry. Book your free hiring consultation now at www.forsythbarnes.com and see just how your competitors are staying ahead. That's interesting. Well, one thing I want to pick your brain on today, Shawn, and I think a lot of people will be really interested in is understanding and maybe taking the similarities that you would have gotten from sports and coaching and being an athlete versus running a business from an operational standpoint, and the things that you can take as a sports person into the world of business. And it's even better that we're doing it in the world of sports as well. So there's a triage there of games to play. So what would you say is one of the kind of core principles maybe that you've taken from your sports coaching career that translates directly into running a large organization?
Yeah, outside of the people portion that we've already discussed, it's preparation and execution. There's no when you're prepared, you can execute. You can't fake preparation.
Yeah.
I guess is the way I see it. Um, and you learn real quickly that it's not the most. It takes a lot more than talent to win and to excel. Uh, the trust factor that you build with your team, where everyone knows that and is encouraged to share the bad things as more than even the good things,
Yep.
so we can solve them together before the tsunami hits, is is the big difference. But if you look at like athletes, they're impatient with inputs, but patient with the outputs. They understand processes. They're self-aware, and the good ones are self-aware, and they constantly self-evaluate and use visualization, and that's preparing. And then they pay a lot of attention to detail, and they need to maximize their time management. Um, they love feedback, and they know how to. They're, like I said in the beginning, they're resilient. Um, and they're the skills to me that go a lot further in building a winning team than simply someone that has a master of a skill set.
Yeah. And do you think that that's applicable across all teams and all departments? I mean, I don't know about you, but again, for anyone that knows me, knows that I'm a big football, or what you will call soccer, fan, and played a lot growing up. And I think what you can take from a changing room, or a locker room, or a dressing room, whatever you want to call it, in the world of sports into the business world, but specifically the sales floor. It's all about hunger, it's desire, it's beating the competition. I mean, I find it really, really applicable in the world of sales. Do you think it's as applicable in other departments, whether it be, the biz ops team, or the marketing team, or the comms team, or whatever it may be?
I do, because I try to build a culture where, like I said, everyone's tied to the same bottom line, and for everyone to eat, somebody has to sell.
Right.
I always
Yeah,
use
yeah,
that quote. And so you're either servicing a sale or you're selling. Um, and that's kind of the root of our culture.
yeah.
So you
I
may
mean,
be in communications, but that communications is tied back to driving the business.
yeah. Are there things that you think, I guess, on the flip side, that maybe don't quite translate into the world of sports business, and maybe something that you kind of had to, um, I don't even know if unlearn is a word, but something that you had to, remove or eliminate from your skill set because it just didn't quite work?
Yeah. On the athletic field, you win or you lose, right? When you're doing a negotiation or you're working on a deal, there's a lot of give and take,
Yeah,
and to get to a deal done and to get a partnership established. In athletics, it's not really a partnership. You're out there to win,
yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah,
So that to me is the biggest difference. And you have to soften your approach. I mean, as I matured in my career, I learned, I got much better in terms of, I was always good at the culture and the vision and direction, but and accountability, but I got to learn how to be more empathetic. Um, and it's helped me on both sides of the table.
yeah. I think the wins, at least in my experience and from what I've seen and discussed, the wins in the sports business environment are a little more elongated. The losing one game on a Sunday night, for example, whilst it may be frustrating at the time, you know, I don't quite find it as, disappointing or as frustrating as if I was an athlete, right? When I played football when I was younger, whenever I lost a game, I'd be so pissed off, man. I would have, no one could talk to me for the rest of the day. It's the worst thing ever. Now I speak to executives who, are coming off the back of 2 or 3 losses, and, they're in good spirits. We're still early in the season. There's lots more to do. Now, that may just come, with maturity and just with growing up and understanding that one loss isn't going to determine your season. But at the same time, I do think there is something there that is being involved as an athlete, being on the ice or on the court or on the field versus being in a business room that maybe allows you to see things a little more, holistically, and maybe not react to that emotional, frustration as and when it happens. I don't know if you've kind of seen and thought the same as you've grown throughout your career as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because I learned when I shifted to the business side that I need to focus on controlling the controllable. And when the team's wins and losses aren't something that my behaviors can directly control, or
Yeah.
my actions.
Yeah,
So
very true.
drive everyone's focus and my own and everyone else's to priorities and daily functions that are process driven, regardless of outcomes related to the team. Don't get me wrong. Like when things are, I've always seen it this way. If a team's is doing really well, that's when you hit the gas, and I push harder. But if a team's struggling, I respect the the patrons and the fans know well enough that they don't want to hear from you now. I mean, your job is to maintain when it's bad and hit the gas when it's good.
Yeah. And it's I guess it's not always easy to do that, right? Because in the world of business, there are things that you'll celebrate and things that will be working out really well. Maybe when the team isn't doing so good, like you close a big partnership deal or you close a jersey patch or a stadium naming rights, whatever it may be. And trying to almost not separate the two things, because obviously you can't do that, but trying to make sure that those things are celebrated when maybe things on the ice or on the court or on the field aren't quite, as positive. I can imagine that might be quite challenging as well, right?
Yeah, it's really hard, but I think it's important to celebrate wins, um, for individuals, wins for teams. So and collectively demonstrate those celebrations. And when things are bad on the ice, again, if you go back to controllables, like the Bill Belichick "do your job" type thing. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah,
celebrate your success in doing your job, and that's kind of the way I approach it.
interesting. What's the what's the biggest leadership mistake that you've probably learned from? You know, 20, 25 years or so with the group over in Philadelphia. I mean, that's a pretty long time, right? I can imagine you'd be only human if you made at least 5, 10 mistakes, along the way there. But what would you say is the biggest one that you've maybe learned from, and maybe that has kind of helped you to adapt and change your approach in future?
For me, it was I hate. I mean, the worst part of the job is firing, is terminating people,
Yeah,
and um, there's been times where probably I, out of loyalty, try let, held on too long before having to make changes. And then one of my former bosses told me something that uh, he said, "Well, it's false kindness if you're just keeping someone on because you're not helping them either.
yeah,
So as long as you treat them fairly and give them the opportunities, um, the change is going to be better for them in the long run. And it's not going to feel good, but it's your fiduciary duty to make those changes. And when I was younger, I probably took a lot longer to do those things. Now I always was strong at not avoiding difficult decisions and difficult challenges, but when it comes to people, that was always the harder move for me.
yeah, yeah. It's and this is so common, by the way. I think most people, if not all people, really, when they get into management, because there's an element of there's a relationship that you've built with that individual. There's accountability on your front that you feel like you've maybe failed them, and I've
But
been there
exactly,
myself
I
plenty of
put you in this
times.
position. It's my fault if you're not excelling, or I made the wrong decision at the point of
Yeah.
hire.
But I do think whoever it was that said that to you is right, and is wise for saying that, because and it took me a while to realize that as well. But sometimes the best thing that you can do for someone is be honest with them and tell them the truth, that for whatever reason, right, it's a me thing, it's an us thing, it's a business thing, it's a whatever it may be, it's just not quite working out, and it's going to be better for you to go out and try and find something new. And I'm here to help you, and all of that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that is.
Do it with compassion, do it with empathy, and make sure it's never a surprise.
Yeah, it's my least favorite conversation to ever have in the world of business, but it's part and parcel with what we do. But that's interesting. What would you say some of the, let's make this a much more positive part of the conversation, Shawn. What would you say are some
Thank
of
you.
the some of the kind of key highlights and wins and successes that you've achieved over. Well, really, we'll come on to GF Sports because I'm really intrigued to get your take on that. But during your tenure over in Philadelphia, talk to us about some of your successes and everything there. I mean, the team were probably one of the most consistent teams at reaching the playoffs during your tenure there. I mean, that's certainly something to be proud about.
Yeah, I'm really proud of everything we were able to do there. Um, uh, and I think the thing I'm most proud about is if you look at the pipeline of where people are now, what they're doing, that where I worked with or worked for me, if you want to put it that way, um, in their career path. I mean, they're all over the industry, and as you know, it's a small industry, but uh, it's really rewarding to see everyone excelling. Um, then the thing I'm most proud of personally was the year of the NHL lockout. We were able to retain full staff and
Yeah,
not um, and play the long game, and it really paid off because that wasn't easy, obviously, because everyone was doing layoffs and furloughs and everything else. But
yeah.
um, I would say that's it. I mean, obviously we did grew revenues and we did all that, but in terms of things that um, help cement who you are as a leader and a person, they're the two.
Having a year of no games, I mean, I can't even begin to think about the impact that would have had on everyone, right? Leaders, ownership, players, fans, business executives. I mean, the impact of that is just, almost unimaginable. If I think about that happening today, we can think about how much the industry has developed over the last 20 years since that happened. And that's insane. But how did you, manage to retain everyone? How did you navigate that situation? Because I think you're right. When you look back at your life and career and think about big things that make you who you are and impact you, that's certainly a big one from a business standpoint, I would say.
Yeah, we were fortunate because we owned several properties. We just redeployed people to different business lines of business, but then we kept people who were fan facing or customer engaged, like service people, community relations. We kept them in place, but um, like the salespeople, we just moved them to sell different products, or because. But it took a lot of creativity and preparation to do that.
Yeah.
So, and I really, on the other side of it, it was great when people came back to the Flyers at the time. They were cross trained and had learned new ways to do things. Have been done. Were kind of recharged in a different way. So that was like a reward from the pain, I guess. But
Yeah.
it was, and then we took that time as a leadership group where we really took a look at the business and reset the business. So instead of just sitting there playing the waiting game, we really evaluated all our lines of business, how we were doing things, our strategy, um, and we changed a lot. And I think sometimes if you don't have that pause, it's real easy to just keep going without making dramatic changes.
Yeah.
So that was actually a really good time to take a breath and set the strategy for the future.
Yeah. Probably a lot of those things that are just difficult to do in the day-to-day running of a group of sports teams, I guess. They give you a
Yeah,
bit
COVID
more.
was the same way with GF. I mean, that was a chance for us to really figure out, okay, where do we want to go? Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Is it actually segues nicely onto that part of the discussion. Um, 2019, I think it was, if I recall from my conversation correctly. But
Yep.
yeah, what talk to me about that move and, what inspired making a bit of a shift and changing your career?
I was with the Flyers as we just went through 23 years, 24 years, and um, the Ed Snyder just passed away. Comcast came in and put in a different leadership group, and I could I could tell that it was philosophically time for me to make a change, and I had a chance to. Like I said, I'd been a promoter because I worked for the Harlem Globetrotters, my first job after the internship. Then I worked on the building side. Then I worked on the team side. So I said, okay, how do I round out this career of mine? And I saw the private equity in the side, and it really intrigued me because I'm really a curious person. I love to learn and I love to try different things. And when I was able to connect with those guys there, I kind of given the ability to oversee the mergers, acquisitions, build the portfolio, build the strategy, and it was I wasn't just a lot more ideation and creation and execution, not just it was creating the products too, versus uh, selling tickets for sport A, B, or C.
I guess the holy trinity that I refer to in the world of sports is working team side, agency side, and brand side. And usually when people check all three of those boxes, they'll make a great career for themselves. But I think the investment space has become more and more important, especially in recent years. Just the level and the breadth of investment that's going into the industry here, across the pond in the UK and Europe, really globally now, is quite phenomenal. How do you, I guess, maybe take everything that you've learned and know in your career and apply that, in a world which today is highly competitive? You have to have a really good eye for the right sorts of investments and opportunities. And, the traditional pathway for an executive won't necessarily give someone that eye in every environment. But talk to us a little about, how that transition has been for you and what are the kind of key things that you've taken from your career that have helped you to grow and build within this business.
Yeah, I had a huge advantage I didn't know I had. I have an operator's lens. So I
Right.
mean, I literally have brick by brick been in the sports and entertainment industry forever and know where how the sausage is made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of times my biggest asset to the organization is the ability to read through numbers and understand and point things out and really the numbers tell a story, but I can tell you how we got there or how it
Yeah.
gets there and the trajectory. Like, if you're looking at a spreadsheet and somebody's profits jumped tremendously. Oh well, it was a media deal got done that year. That's not happening again for X number of
Right.
years. So you can't
Yeah.
just. Uh, I think, and I've really grown from the learning the way and how to speak to financial, like the private equity guys, and how to tell the story with take really complicated things and simplify them
Yeah.
using the numbers to tell the story.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've learned a lot from them too, in terms of how they look at things and what how long it should take for an investment to and pan out. What should be the return.
Yeah.
I kind of look at the private equity groups as sponsors, and I'm the product.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. What are the typical things that you guys invest in? What do you guys see as good investment opportunities?
Yeah, currently we have an ATP 500 tennis tournament where we have a joint venture with the Dallas Cowboys, which we're real proud of and real excited about. And that started as two 250 tournaments, which we had the opportunity to go through a really rigorous RFP process for an upgrade, and we were able to do that. That was a big win for us because it's tremendous enterprise value growth.
Yeah.
Uh, we also own a National Lacrosse League team that we moved from Long Island it was there when I got there to Ottawa, and we did a joint venture with the Ottawa Senators, which has really done improved tremendously. And then we brought the World Long Drive competition from the Golf Channel during COVID. We saw the trajectory of golf and the growth of golf during COVID and all golf, and we really think that's a great media property. And we're so in terms of investments and where we're going, I always try to look at things that are either great products that have poor operators or great operators that don't have capital and the scalability of the products.
Yeah.
Because you can't fake demand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I guess great products that are run by great operators is probably a gold dust out there, right? If they're lacking the capital.
Well, they're usually not looking for investors.
Yeah.
Or they're not usually for
Yeah.
sale. Or,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, like I say, you don't see that pivot too often. But I think, running a business, yeah, that makes a lot of sense as to why you'd have that eye for good investment opportunities. I mean, talk to me. This is more of a personal question, Shawn, and I'm sure that, a few listeners might be interested in this as well. But if I had, the capital to invest right now, here and today in sports, which areas do you think I should be thinking about and looking at, and what are the types of opportunities that I should be thinking about spending my capital in?
well, it's a really interesting dance, in my opinion, because if something's all over the media and you're hearing like, oh, it's invest in this, and because it's everybody's doing it, you're too late.
Yeah.
Uh, to me, I really think that tennis and golf are really interesting spaces because of the business models with prize money and versus things that leagues can control uh, too much of your business model,
Yeah.
meaning that like if a salary cap goes too high, it's really hard if the cap goes up by 5 million for you to find $5 million in new revenue.
Yeah.
So to me, I kind of look at it that way, and then I look at somebody phrased it to me one time this way: is the sport in the right neighborhood? Meaning, is it the trajectory of it and the interest inherent versus having to be created?
So how do you try and kind of strike that balance, I guess, between what's hot and what's busy right now versus what is actually scalable and is actually going to return on your investment? I think about things like pickleball and paddle right now as being pretty big, at least here in New York. Globally growing. The fan base is increasing year on year. The sports are offering more cash prizes year on year. But at the same time, is that really going to be, those two sports really going to be sports that in 10 years' time, are going to be anywhere near as big as some of the sports that we're familiar with today? Or, is that investment maybe a good investment, but just manage your expectations on what you're actually going to get out of it? How do you strike that balance?
I think there's too much fragmentation, and I think those business models, in my opinion, if you can own the grassroots side of it and then bring on the professional and then bring the professional level on top of it
Yeah.
versus having individual leagues and properties, because to me there's a like a membership model and and the recreational participation is your play there more than the pro level,
Okay.
if that makes sense. I think if you can galvanize that and find a way to build a business model around that piece, it's going to be a lot faster to success than trying to run individual leagues or teams.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And I guess you've probably seen that from the Ottawa Black Bears and the lacrosse team over there, that managing and operating the team at that level is very, very different to you know, managing and operating a grassroots operation, you know, even if it is the same sport. But there are different challenges and different things to take into account for both, right?
Exactly. You know, I think in regard to investing, the scalability is obviously real important in my mind, because uh it that's if you're in it to grow it, there's got to be um enough opportunity where the revenue streams are diverse enough where you haven't already tapped out, for lack of a better word.
Right.
Because otherwise the economics can get really messy to put on the product the right way, and the
Yeah.
cost of production and television and everything else. If you don't get the right deals, it's going to be a long, tough putt and hard to attract investors.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Well, look, man, this has been great. This has been very insightful. I think your career, congrats, by the way. It's a phenomenal journey and career to have. And you've done one of the things that many people really struggle to do, and that's stay within roughly, you know, one geographical area and still get to the level that you've got to. That's pretty
Thank you.
phenomenal.
And it was totally by accident, which is
Yeah.
and you know, it's back to kind of being comfortable being uncomfortable in those situations, and going with the flow, and you know, just adapt, like we talked about before, the adaptability, the understanding how to deal with mistakes, and just being curious.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, you don't see it a lot. The need and I guess necessity to relocate in this industry to try and grow and excel your career and take that next step, you know, is almost expected across the board, and it's really difficult to do what you've done. So, you know, it speaks volumes to who you are as an executive, who you are as a character and a person, really all around.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you taking the time, and look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah, of course. Well, look, we'll be back again with another episode, but thanks so much for today, Shawn. And looking forward to seeing how the Flyers get on this year. I'm sure you're still rooting for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay in touch with those guys, and wish them nothing but the best.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, guys, for listening.